I'm Tanya Johnson. I'm a professional caregiver with Always Best Care. I went to my client's house on a Monday morning, Mr. Van. He was not feeling well and he was not himself on this particular morning. Usually when I arrive at Mr. Van's house, he's very talkative. He wants to know how my weekend was. And Mr. Van wasn't in that talkative mood on that particular morning. I asked Mr. Van and I talked to him. I said, well, Mr. Van, how are you? He said, well, I'm not feeling well. I went to the hospital on yesterday. I say, the hospital? I say, well, wow, I left you on Friday. You were feeling well. He said, yeah, but things changed over the weekend and I had to go into the hospital. I kind of viewed Mr. Van that morning and I began to give him a good breakfast and I gave him his meds that morning, and Mr. Van still kind of did not come back around. He still was, I don't feel good, I don't feel good. And so I called the family member and I said, well, Mr. Van says he's feeling this shape in this condition. And so the family said, well, yes, we took him to the hospital and this is the diagnosis. And so I called the office, and when I called the office to inform the coordinators about the condition that I found Mr. Van in, they asked me to monitor him and watch him that particular morning. So throughout the day I did. I watched him and I monitored him. I gave him a good lunch afterwards in bath. And so Mr. Van, he still did not become himself as usual, that usual Mr. Van, that talkative person, that energetic person, let's take a ride to the store type of person. And so I called the office again. I said, well, my shift is about to end and I do not want to leave Mr. Van in this condition. And so I called the family member back again. I said, well, he's still not himself. And I called the office again to inform them that I wasn't comfortable with leaving Mr. Van in this shape with the family. And then the family member that I was calling was out of town. She did not live here in Louisiana. And I asked the family member, were they comfortable with me taking Mr. Van to the hospital? And I asked Mr. Van, are you comfortable? He said, would you do that for me? Yes, I would be very comfortable. So I called the office and I said, well, okay, is it okay that I would take Mr. Van to the hospital? Because if I leave him in this condition, it wouldn't sit well with me, the love and compassion that I have for my clients. And so we began to go to the hospital. And when we got there, I informed the doctors that he had been there prior to that day. And they said, well, yes, we're aware because we can read and see his charts. And so they began to run tests on him. And when they ran some more tests on Mr. Van, they found out that he did have to go into emergency surgery, particularly that day. So I was very grateful that my instincts and my training kicked in to be concerned for the client and the patient and not leave him in that condition. So everything worked out well for him.